All right, joining us now, Democratic Congressman Jake Auchincloss. He is a Marine combat veteran and member of the Energy and Commerce Committee. Congressman, thanks for being here. First, I want to get your reaction to what Congressman Smith had to say about lifting this partial government shutdown.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on. I want to respond to two things Congressman Smith said. The first about tariffs. He indicated he does not like tariffs. Neither do I. The difference, though, between me and Adrian is that when a Democratic president imposed tariffs, I actually disagreed with him. I took to the Wall Street Journal and said he wasn't applying the 232 or 301 tariffs appropriately. So my ask of Adrian and other Republicans is, have the courage of your convictions. Americans are tired of hearing you grumble under your breath about one thing and then voting the other way after a Republican president has levied the biggest tax hike on the middle class since World War II unilaterally. I think Americans want to see Congress act, and they're tired of Republicans just supplicating themselves to the dear leader.
And on the shutdown piece, though, do you think we're just sort of drifting off into an indefinite shutdown for Homeland Security?
Democrats want the masks off, body cameras on. We want the warrantless dragnet operations to stop, and we want ICE to reprioritize towards border security and towards deporting criminals. There are about 29,000 unauthorized immigrants, for example, with murder or rape convictions. ICE has detained and deported less than 1% of them based upon recent data. And I don't think it is unreasonable to say, hey, ICE, rather than trying to pick up and harass people bringing their kids to bus stops, maybe focus on those who are a threat to public safety. The American public, by wide margins, agrees with Democrats' demands. Republicans have the gavels in the House and the Senate, and it's on them to fund and govern this government competently and not as an instrument of fear.
Okay, so in the fall when we did the Mondo shutdown that went on for so long, the issue was about health care, and Democrats had the issue, they had the politics on the issue. You guys definitely had the political advantage, but Republicans weathered the storm. There are, though, a lot of pressure points on Senate Democrats still. The TSA, super important to millions of travelers and to the nation's economy. That's a big part of what broke last year's stalemate. Do you think we will see a replay this time around, or has the question of ICE that you point to fundamentally changed this?
It's not about Beltway politics. This is about Americans' demands for due process that is befitting a free people. Americans, on the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, are not going to watch an out-of-control tyrant impose a paramilitary upon their day-to-day living. They didn't do it 250 years ago. They're not going to do it today. This is bigger than the Beltway. This is about individual freedom. This is about the rule of law. And the American public will be heard on this issue, now or in the midterms.
All right, let's go over to biology class for a second. You've been definitely on the warpath over the Department of Health and Human Services moves against new vaccines. These are the messenger RNA kind that aside from being a key to the COVID vaccines, are at the forefront on cancer treatment and other health breakthroughs. Last week, the FDA said it wouldn't even review an application from Moderna for a new flu vaccine. And look, people are all for progress, but altering the way that human beings' cells work sounds pretty scary to some people. What's the case against being very, very careful with these?
We should be very, very careful with these. That's why the United States has the world's gold standard biomedical regulator, where they look at a randomized controlled trial that compares new technologies against the best standard of care. Moderna had negotiated this with career scientists at the FDA, and then Vinay Prasad, a political appointee who was deeply unqualified for his role, came in and overruled the career scientists at the FDA at the last minute. The memo that he overruled, by the way, written by David Kaslow, still has not been released, and FDA needs to release that memo so that scientists can review the merits in a transparent way. Chris, I think it's worth, though, talking about why Americans should care about mRNA. Obviously, Americans experienced it during COVID with the the COVID vaccine. That vaccine, because of the mRNA technology, was developed within 1 hour after the genome of the virus was released. We're going to need that capability going forward. We know our enemies have biological warfare capabilities. We know, of course, that in this 8 billion person world that there could be another naturally occurring outbreak, and we need to be prepared for that. We also want to take advantage of the promise of mRNA technology, which includes things like a personalized cancer vaccine. We are years, not decades, away from being able to go to a doctor, get a test of your genome, see what kind of cancers you have a predilection for, and then getting a personalized therapy to prevent that cancer. Not science fiction. That's coming, except now it's going to take a lot longer because of the ideological antipathy towards science and progress that exists right now under this administration.
Okay, now let's turn to politics. I want you to listen to just a little bit of a conversation I had with one of your former colleagues, Tom Malinowski, who narrowly lost a special election to a pretty hardcore progressive after the American-Israel Public Affairs Committee dumped a bunch of money on Mr. Malinowski for basically being critical of the Netanyahu government.
Whatever the outcome in our little race in NJ11, they wanted to send a threatening, intimidating message to Democrats running in the midterms all across the country. If you step out of line, we will do to you what we did to Tom Malinowski.
This is a suburban district just outside of New York. This is a place where Democratic infighting has produced a candidate who, it's a good Democratic year. It's going to be hard for Republicans, but brings the race within reach. You're leading a group that is trying to match the candidate to the right district. You want to maximize the numbers for Democrats here. Did you see a warning about this division and this stuff in New Jersey last week?
Chris, you're right. I'm chair of Majority Democrats, which is a group of 32 elected leaders, governors, senators, members of Congress, state legislators, and we're seeking to reinvent the Democratic Party by 2028 by rebuilding trust with the exhausted majority of Americans, and that does involve getting engaged in tough-to-win battleground seats for the 2026 midterms. We were not involved in New Jersey, as you said, a more blue-leaning district, but we're involved on the seats that are going to be majority makers for Democrats. And if you see these candidates that we are backing, they are Americans from all walks of life who can represent their districts authentically. A farmer from North Carolina, a Navy SEAL from Michigan, a minister from Iowa, a Grammy Award-winning Latino singer from Texas. These are the kinds of candidates that are going to build a generational majority for Democrats.
Okay, America, if you were eating quahogs in Seekonk, Massachusetts, you would know him already. But if you don't, there he is, Congressman Jake Auchincloss. We thank you for joining us.